Okay, she's in.
Kathleen, are you there?
I am. Thank you. Sorry about all that.
Great, thank you for coming in. We'll call the meeting to order. And we need a motion to excuse 3 of our members as they are at business and on vacation.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Flip a coin on that one.
Kind of running out of people.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I
Join. Thank you, Kathleen. Join me at the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a correction to the agenda with resolution 25-20 approving an emergency repairs to the clarifier. With that, we have a presentation. We've been waiting for weeks for you, Eric, to come over here. May I introduce, this is Eric Loomis, the Grant Transit Authority General Manager, and will be walking us through the wonderful organization that they are. All right, it's all yours, Eric.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for having me here this evening. So I want to go through, have a presentation here for you, kind of give you a general outline of Grant Transit Authority and what we do here in the county. Get my share screen here. So who we are, we're connecting people with life. So through jobs, people, family, social events, medical appointments, shopping, schools, all through the county. Particularly those folks that don't have other means of transportation. So what we do, our service area is the Grant County, 2,700 square miles that we provide service to. Population now a little over 100,000 jobs, over 38,000 jobs. In 2024, we gave 137,000 rides for our fixed route service. Now we have a dial ride transportation service and an ADA access service that's contracted through People for People. And our revenue this last year was 15,672,800. So where did we come from? What is Grant Transit Authority? Well, in 1995, we started as a demonstration project with 4 vehicles. That first month, GTA gave 871 rides. Fast forward 1 year, and voters in Grant County passed for Grant County to have what's called a transportation benefit area. So that was established. We then had doubled the size of vehicles. In that first month, after becoming a full-on transit service, running off of a tax, a 0.2% tax in the county, we had 1,964 rides. Fast forward to 2013. So prior to this year, all of our services were contracted with People for People. In 2011, a maintenance department was built to do the maintenance on our vehicles in-house. And in 2013, our fixed operations was brought in-house as well. In 2017, we had our multimodal transit center, our MTC, open its doors in downtown Moses Lake. One of the main hubs that we have going on our fixed route service from Warden to Moses Lake to Ephrata and on to Quincy and Soap Lake on the other ends there. 2023, we had a couple big plans done, an analysis of how our services were, and then our zero emission vehicle fleet transition plan from looking at what traditionally is diesel, gasoline vehicles and propane to electric and hydrogen fuel vehicles as well. So 2025, looking where we're at now, we're currently in a facilities upgrade for our maintenance facility, those brown buildings there. It essentially doubles the size of our maintenance facility. Gives us opportunity to get more vehicles in and serviced, as well as an electric charging station there for our current and future electric fleet. So budget, where does our money come from? I mentioned the tax base here in the county, which provides our operating revenue for most of the services we provide, 67% there. But we also have different pots of money that essentially is grant funded that we apply for through the state. The PTSN, paratransit special needs, is essentially earmarked for a specific need. The state funding, 2.2 million, is for operating to help us out with what we do, as well as the federal there. And then other is some interest in smaller accounts. For the capital side, the large budget this year, this is 2025 numbers, a little over 10.5 million. For that, the largest sum there is our bus facilities. You can see we're building that facility right now. It's supposed to be built finished in October. At our April board meeting, we're having a board retreat where we're going to be able to have our board members tour that facility and see the progress that we have on that. Everything else essentially is vehicles, and then you can see an automatic bus wash that will help our maintenance department out there as well. So projects, I just want to highlight on what's going on. This is a graph of all the vehicles and facilities upgrades we're doing, and kind of a timeline on those. So you can see we have a lot of vehicles. Most of them are replacement vehicles. For older vehicles, are a useful life on a bus. A large bus is 12 years. We usually like to last them 14 or 15. And so we're trying to get our average fleet life down to about 7 years is kind of the sweet spot there for an average fleet. And then a bunch of smaller equipment, some service plan changes coming up. And again, that's what our board is going to be discussing during our retreat in April. Trying to streamline, make some routes more efficient between the cities that we provide fixed route service, but also I'll talk a little bit more about some demand response services that we have to expand in the county. So services, fixed route service, we'll get a little more into the map here. We have our Dollaride transportation service that provides demand response service. So instead of having a fixed schedule, it's as needed as folks call in. We have different areas of the county, different towns of the county that we provide that service to. And that's really what I'm going to be looking at expanding this year and into next. There's some pilot programs we have coming up. Access is our ADA paratransit service that People for People currently has a contract with us that provides that service. And that's an FTA requirement. Anywhere you have fixed route service, you need ADA Dollaride service within 3/4 miles of those routes. And then our rideshare program. We have, I believe, 8 vehicles out on a rideshare that either have a destination or origination in Grant County. So for fixed route service, this is a live map that we have connected on our website through software company IT Curves, where anyone can get on our website and see any of the routes or all of the routes and see where vehicles are at any given time. Interactive for customers, they can click on a bus stop anywhere they want and see what the next departure time is for them. So they know if a bus is late, they can get on here and see why. There's also a mobile app connected to this. And it certainly helps us with our efficiencies, cuts down phone calls, gives our customers peace of mind when they are able to go in there and see where their bus is and why it might be late. It can also give out rider alerts if there's construction or detours or closed stops in particularly. So into our DART services. So we currently provide service to Grand Coulee, Coulee City, Royal City, Electric City, Wilson Creek, Mattawa, and Winnipum Dam there. And you can see on the map, there are just small circles within the county that we provide those services. So once we get to those cities, we can have a general pickup or go around door to door and pick up folks that need that and then get them to typically Ephrata or Moses Lake is where those trips provide service to. Future services, again, what we're going to be talking about on our board retreat is dark connections. So buildings that already have more times available throughout the day. Right now, we only provide 2 to 4 trips a day to those locations. Looking to expand that to about double the size. Beyond access, so again, that access right now through our contracted services, 3/4 mile from a fixed route service, which limits folks getting to doctor appointments at a medical facility outside of those areas, or shopping or any other reason to use the service. So the beyond access would look at providing service to areas outside of that original boundary. And service for seniors would be similar, only providing service beyond folks who just require through ADA services, which is a very long application process. With this, we have a new software called Remix, where we're able to plan all of this, both fixed route and demand response. And just go through a quick little sneak peek of what that can do for us. So if we look at any one of these routes, and we can look in Ephrata here and zoom in, it gives us a quick KPI of what our service statistics are. And of course, you can see one vehicle currently operates on this route for about $79,000, almost $80,000 a year. And it gives us the population that we serve within this area. And we can see what is available within a 1/4 mile of each stop. If we want to see our 88.75 miles, we can see then that area gets larger when I click on that. But say if we wanted to look at that 1/4 mile again, and it wasn't quite serving the areas we were hoping it would, we can do a quick plan and bring that route somewhere else into another neighborhood. It then changes our mileage, vehicle, and cost immediately, as well as the population change. If we wanted to create a bus stop there, we can have that, turn that on or off as well, and that can show us the 1/4 mile around that bus stop. So a lot of great metrics we can get from this, a lot of quick planning tools we can use. We can interact with the public. We're doing some planning and outreach on this program, saying, here's a potential route we have in your area. What do you think of it? Our customers, our potential customers can write notes on that, and we get that feedback almost instantaneously on the customer end. And we have rideshare here. So in 2024, we have passenger trips 21,000, commuter hours, commuter miles, 165,000 miles on our rideshare vehicles. Last year we implemented what our customers might call controversial, but is this program inside the buses, inside the rideshare vehicles, which we have inside the buses as well, on our internal for our internal drivers. This helps us track for our rideshare program and basically create efficiencies. It's not here to watch over someone driving one of our rideshare vehicles. We don't have that kind of time on our hands. It's more for training purposes and teaching moments. As you can see, here's a 73 4-mile-per-hour and 60-mile-per-hour zone. But also it helps us with our maintenance. These are grant funded vehicles, most of them. And so we have required maintenance times to do those certain mileages or hours. And we used to rely on the drivers of those rideshare vehicles. Now we're completely plugged into the vehicle. We know when those milestones come up, and we can get those in for services, whether it's tires, oil change, or other. They can also help with training and reports and some fuel efficiencies that we can identify as well, depending on the vehicle that we have. What kind of vehicle? So we have anything from a minivan, a Ford Explorer, up to a large Ford Transit vehicle for those.
So how many of them do you have out in use now?
I think 7 out of the 8 that we have. So we have one, and I think actually technically it's maximized because we have one that replaces others when they're out for maintenance. Our fleet transition, back to that plan that was created in 2023, looking at the different fuel types. Now we have through our Federal Transit Administration, FTA. There are several grants out there that have been for battery electric buses. We have two in revenue service right now, 4 on site, 2 that are attempting to be worked on to get out in service. Quite frankly, we haven't had good luck with those. And that seems to be a trend across the US with electric vehicles. For one reason or another, we have the infrastructure put in for it. But these are vehicles that should be able to charge wirelessly from a pad at our downtown facility as well as plug in at our maintenance facility. And so there's some primarily software communication issues with that communication for charging purposes that we're trying to work out. Other options, of course, we have diesel, gasoline, and propane already on site, and then hydrogen seems to be up and coming in Washington for higher commercial use for both bus and truck use. And so in the plan was created different scenarios. This first one is the preferred scenario for the agency. And you can see by 2030, these years might change depending on how the technology advances and the cost efficiency pencils out. The idea would be to be completely on zero emission vehicles by 2035, whether that's hydrogen, electric, or a mix of both. But again, right now we have 4 on site. I don't see us being on the bleeding edge or cutting edge of these technologies. But we do plan on moving in a direction that makes sense for Grant Transit Authority, given our colder weather sometimes, our large area that we have to serve, and the infrastructure that might have to be put in place for any of these new technologies. So here's a picture of the first hydrogen bus, a 40-foot New Flyer bus that was put into service by Lewis County Transit. They have a pilot program with grant money through the state and federal government they were able to build their own hydrogen plant. It's not just it will be up and running this summer. So they'll be able to fuel, I believe, 8 hydrogen buses by the end of the summer on site. Right now they'll have to turn hydrogen in. And so there are pros and cons to building it on site. The biggest cons there is cost. To build your own facility on site is very costly versus trucking it in if there's a close facility that offers that as an opportunity. But to give numbers, dollar amounts, a diesel 40-foot bus is about $700,000 right now for a 12-year lifespan. Whereas a hydrogen is about $1.2 to $1.5 million. So they say you can save costs over that 12 years with the hydrogen vehicle versus diesel, but again, there hasn't been a hydrogen bus out there for 12 years to show that prove out. But just for reference, this is our facility over in Moses Lake near the airport. That light blue on the top middle would be where our new facility is going, our new maintenance facility. But we have propane on the top right. We have our gasoline and diesel is covered. Those are all above ground tanks, so they can be moved. And the idea will be to have our fuel systems more in this open area once we decide or when hydrogen would be a good option for us. So we can have those close, but not too close to each other for obvious safety reasons. But we have some room available for those when the time is right. So evaluating these primarily routes and programs that we have, we don't have any performance measures right now. So this year, my team is working on getting performance measures for each type of service, because those can be different for fixed route versus our DART services, and then have attached a credit program to any of those new services. So seeing if those work out the way we plan them to, and working with communities to make sure that is this what you asked for? Is this meeting the expectations for us and the tax dollars that are going into this? And then for reference there, you can see our DART service is only 3% of our total ridership and 27% of our total miles. Well, naturally, it's a different program. It's providing service to the whole county. putting much more miles on those vehicles, with smaller buses, and a few less riders. So, having performance measures for those different programs, that makes sense for each program, that fit the needs of the county. Communication, big part where I think we're going to be trying to ramp up this year. We don't have a marketing position. We all, again, my team pitches in and we all do marketing events, whether it's at schools or the fair, different events around different towns, parades. We do light up one of our buses and put it in a couple of parades in the county, and try to really get our information out there. For example, how many knew that it was free to get on a bus and go? You don't have to pay a fare, or give the driver anything. You just walk on a bus. You're on that bus. You go to your destination. I say free. It's paid for with a grant that we receive from the state, that offsets those costs that we would normally collect a fare with. By looking speaking with communities, populations with demographics, passengers of all ages, assisted living residents, seeing what we can do for those folks, nonprofits, and of course businesses, getting folks to work and back, is really important, and it's ongoing, especially with schools. Students hopefully progress on beyond school. So to work with folks in different towns on a regular basis is really something I think we're going to be looking into this year. We've tried in the past, just last year, to get a couple of interns that are hopefully going through some marketing courses in college or otherwise that could help us with that outreach and also create a marketing plan for us. We weren't successful last year, so we're going to try that again this year to get couple folks on through the summer that can help build that program for us. And then real-time communication, I spoke about the map that our customers can get on. Here's some different looks at our bus stop enhancements that we're going to be looking at this year, and a bus stop enhancement plan, it's a 5-year plan to see what we can do to improve our bus stops, but also make them ADA accessible. A lot of stops are in a gravel parking lot on the side of the road, which is good for some people, but not all people. So that's one upgrade we'll do. Here's some real-time upgrades we can do with instead of having a static stop, we can now plug into our technology that's on the buses and show real-time schedules at different bus stops that have high traffic. And again, that here's a image of Google Maps where we can get put our GTFS data from our vehicles in here. We already do that. However, it doesn't update as often. You can see there's a fare attached to this one still, instead of saying there's a 0 fare. But also there's now GTFS R, which is real time, where we can give customers real-time information on Google, real-time alerts, again, back to those detours or delays that might come up. We can put that into Google's mapping. So here's our challenges and solutions. Fuel types going from our traditional diesel, gasoline that have been around for 100 years, where we are looking at electric and hydrogen that are fairly new to at least the commercialized world, and where we can potentially get to a 0 emission or low emission for our fuel systems. Funding sources are always a challenge. We have a great finance and resources manager. Stephanie does a great job of finding grants and getting them awarded to us. And but they're always changing, federal and state. And we're a rural system, so we do even federal grants go through the Washington State DOT. So they help us out with getting some of those federal grants into the area. And then employee shortages, I think that's been a thing since COVID for the transit world, especially operators. We're finally, just knock on wood, we're finally getting up to a good amount of operators in the door. But again, the marketing communication, trying to get that piece lined out for us. So with that, is there any questions from the council, Mayor?
So do you feel that ridership is increasing year in and year out? Did lowering it to free, did that help?
It did, and I don't have the graph with me, but you can see a very clear increase after it was free. And that's, I've looked at several free systems that went free, not just here, in past jobs have looked at that, and every single time you can see that very large bump. I'd say between about a 10% at least bump in ridership. Our ridership is increasing year over year. Now, before COVID, our numbers were slightly higher, but we also had more routes for a temporary time with some weekend service in there. So that's something we'll be looking into in the future as well. But rolling those services out where it's needed and where the public is going to be riding it.
Do a lot of students use the bus?
In different areas, yes. And that's one thing I identified when I first got here is we're obviously not a school bus, and we're not, based on our funding sources, we're not allowed to compete, so to speak, with school buses or
I'm thinking more of college.
college. Yes, yeah. We do go by the college. We get a lot of college students, and particularly from our downtown transit hub to the college by the airport. There, we get quite a few coming from Ephrata to the school as well. We also have some on our DART service that come to CD Tech every day. And so that's a really big benefit for them and their families, so they don't have to figure out their transportation otherwise. But high schools, middle schools is something we can still serve as long as we're serving the greater public, obviously, with that. And so that's something I'm working with our operations manager to coordinate schedules and times that will help schools out in that manner.
So the dial-a-ride, where you have people that are basically, you're almost giving them a car to get to and from, is that used quite a bit for the dams and stuff like?
Not necessarily for the dams. We have a few folks that go up to, I believe, Grand Coulee, that utilize that service. It's a few, I'd say a handful of folks. It's something where we are public transit, and I would like to call bunching those rides up, try and get as many people on one bus as possible. And the trade-off there is it's not as convenient as hopping in your car. There's going to be some longer wait times for that service, but obviously we're looking at efficiencies, cost per ride, trying to minimize that as much as possible.
Does anybody else have questions or from the public? Floor is open. Get him. You don't get him every day.
Do you guys offer driver training as part of your recruitment package for employees?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you basically need, I believe, 5 years of just regular driving. We do complete CDL training. It's all paid for training. We reimburse for medical cards for that CDL. And we have a really good training program. WISTIP is our transportation insurance program. It's a pool of insurances specific to transit, and they offer a lot of incentives and trainings for us, for our operators. Yeah.
And your operator trainer is in-house?
Yes.
Yeah. First retirement and all that good stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, slow your roll, Jeremy.
Perplexed why people don't apply for some.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We got a good crew of drivers right now, it seems. Yeah, very conscientious. Any other questions?
Nope.
All
Are
right.
you concerned about federal threats to your funding?
That's a great question. Yes, general transit is right now, and a lot of funding flows through FTA to
Right.
ours is not as serious, and losing any kind of funding could lose any kind of service.
Right.
But we're a little more resilient to that,
Okay.
Given our area and our little size, and I'd use the word nimble, and figure out other funding sources and figure out get service
Okay.
out there.
Awesome.
Good question.
Great. All right. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your presentation.
Right.
Now we know. Need a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
Yeah. Mike? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Staff and committee and agency reports, all the work that you guys have done. Is anybody, we're gonna hear from you, Jeremy, or Josh a little bit. All right, so just hold your breath. All right. Anybody else have anything they want to bring out?
You want me to present on my quarter four?
Sure, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, with the presentation. These numbers were in your guys' packet last meeting and this one, so hopefully there's no new numbers on there because they're the exact same as they were last time. But what I've done is just put some graphs to it to make it a little bit easier to see. What I've done is I've just broken down each fund individually. So we start out with the general fund. You can see that our revenue is higher than our budget and our expense is lower than the budget. They're about the same amount up and down. We want to estimate our revenues low and our expenses high. So with them being both at 11%, that means we guessed just about right in the middle of both of them. So I'm really happy with where Leslie went for there. For general fund, next slide. Maybe. One sec. Sales tax is pretty dependent, and so red is 2024, the purple is 2023. You can see that we've trended below 2023, but we actually ended up 2% higher than we did last year due to how high we were in the first quarter with that sales tax. And why we're trending lower is due to those Ephrata school district projects that we're wrapping up. Then we have our library fund budget. Our revenue, again, a little high, our expenses a little low. With this, our library fund is very much property tax dependent, and our property taxes have came in a little bit low for 2024. People are just not paying them right on schedule as when we were expecting. So this was a bit of a surprise to us that our property tax here was high, because all of the other ones were low. And we actually found out that our percentages when we were receiving the money were slightly off as to what we had thought we had them as for the library fund. So that's why it's a little bit high. If you go on to the next one, you can see this is about where the streets is as well. Parks and streets were pretty low due to that property tax. But again, our expenses are about even with that revenue. So we didn't spend as much money either. So it's not like we're spending money we don't have on an outrageous level. We were within $50,000 there, which we're still expecting to get property tax in. Street fund, much lower. This is due to construction projects along with that property tax. So one of those was the TIB grant, which we're extending into spring of 2025. We're extending that, but we don't get that revenue until we spend the money. So that's why it's so low. So if you look at the street fund minus the grant, that's where we're at. So we have spent more than the revenue, but we do have that grant money coming in this next year. So here's our fuel tax revenue. On the left there, you'll see 2023, and on the right, you'll see 2024. Our fuel tax is about $4,000 less this year. So you can guess with whatever that is, people aren't spending as much money on fuel here in Ephrata. This is our transportation benefit district fund. Our revenue is a bit high and our expenses a bit low. This is with construction projects. We are still working on those construction projects, and we just haven't spent as much as we were expecting to because we're extending them into 2025. We also had some transfer funds into there, and that throws off numbers a bit as well. So looking at those ARPA funds that we've discussed a couple of times, we have a couple of balances there, gone over on a couple. Really what we're gonna do is transfer all of the balances into each other, if that makes sense. So the media upgrade is gonna go into the fire engine. And then any extra money we have, we're gonna put into that street project as we discussed during our budget process. Here is our equipment rental budget. Revenue is just about spot on where we expected, and our expense just below, so we're happy with that one. And our sanitation fund, same thing. Revenue higher than we expected, and expenses a little bit lower. Our water sewer, this is with our construction projects. Again, we can't receive the money until we spend the money. We're still in the process of that $16 million water tower, and we're going to be for a while. So that's where those funds are coming from. And with the expense being so high, that's due to transferring funds in and out for the most part. So this is our construction fund, where the main thing I want you guys to look at here is how close together the revenue and expense is. Our revenue is still higher than our expense, and it's just off because of all of those transfers in and outs and not actually completing projects that we knew weren't going to be a one-year project, but we budgeted for the whole project. Anyone have any questions or anything they want me to dig into farther the next month or the next quarter?
No, I personally, I appreciate all the information. That's great data. Then I'm a numbers geek, so it speaks to me. Maybe not to everybody else, but it does to me.
You two should have lunch.
We should.
Well, there was a comment in the past about us not asking a lot of questions from you guys. It's not because we're not interested. It's because you guys do such a wonderful job that if all we have to do is read it and it's pretty clear.
Mhm.
So I for one want to thank all of the staff for the hard work that you do, and it gives us a better picture of what's going on.
Yeah.
Even if it's something as small as you don't like the colors, we had a full argument of the draft, had to change all of them. So if there's something as small as that, it's an easy fix. It takes 5 minutes. But I'll update it for you guys.
Well, you'll have to let me know.
Be red and revenue should be green.
You'll have to let me know what colors they are so I can
That
So it really doesn't matter, does it? Cool. Thanks, Kristen. Any other questions? We'll move on to items for council action. Resolution 2515 authorizing tourism fund contracts.
I think we had something in the consent agenda though for. Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay, perfect.
all right. So Tourism Commission, yeah, this RCA is to present to council and the mayor. Tourism Commission met back in 2024 in December to discuss all the applications that came in with the hotels the city receives from short-term lodging in the hotel here in town. Originally, I had thought there was 80,000 available. So during that first meeting with Tourism Commission, we only received 2 applications. So it was like, it totaled, I think, 62,000. So we put, we extended the due date to January 21st. And so more organizations applied, and that still totaled. Well, so then I found out that we had an extra 15,000 available funds. So it totaled 95,000. So after that, we met back in February and everybody got awarded. The recommendation from Tourism Commission was everybody got awarded what they requested in full, which is still short of what we have budgeted for this year. I think the total amount is on the backside of the resolution. was 90,620. That's what everyone requested, and we have available 95,000. So that additional 4,000 and some change will just get rolled over at 2026.
Questions? Big deep dive challenges for Josh?
Who all got awarded the funds? Since I don't have it right in front of me.
Was
In there?
It is in, it's in.
Is it in there? Yeah.
the city of Ephrata for the Setting Sun tournament, Chamber of Commerce for Setting Sun, Wine Walk, Bells on Basin, Grant County Historical Society, and then the school district for all like the state tournaments and districts and regional stuff they put on.
Any other? Need a motion to accept resolution 20-15, the tourism fund.
So moved.
Thanks, Mike. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Phil. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Kathleen, you okay?
I'm okay.
All
I
right.
was gonna suggest we roll the 4,000 over into the World Cup fund or something. We gotta get some fund coming to Ephrata for it.
So noted. Resolution 25-16, awarding the crack seal project.
Mayor, councilors, before you is a resolution giving you the opportunity to review the bids that we received for the 2025 crack seal project. We had 7 bidders and the engineer's estimate was $105,000. The low bid was $89,000, which came in well under the engineer's estimate. Before you is a resolution to award the 2025 crack seal project to BPV Inc. out of Wenatchee.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Questions?
I have one. Does that mean that because they came in low that you'll be able to crack seal more? Or
That is, we have that option with the contract we can increase what we're doing.
I was just curious.
Yeah, it is. Sean does a really good job with the way he writes that contract as we ran into the same thing with the sewer lining GB, is that the low bid actually came in above what we budgeted. And so it was written in the contract and we have the option to cut that off so that we stay within budget. But being where this came under, we'll go through and reassess. Or if we have to, we can grab that money and put it towards something else.
I think Sean's kind of planned for that when we went into it. There's times that we've talked to him is that's a potential and he kind of has what if on the drawing board in case that happens. Yeah.
Great.
Thanks, Rob. The motion to accept 25-16, the crack seal project.
So move.
Okay.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Val. All in favor?
Aye.
Kathleen? Aye. Think we're good to go. Resolution 25-17, the writing off the uncollectible debt for the year 13 and 14.
Good afternoon or evening, councilors and mayor. So what we have is we have 17 judgments as of January of 2025 that are legally uncollectible due to the statute of limitations. That limit is 10 years. So we were, the goal is to write off the debt of $6,737.24. And we can't collect it legally. So we're just hoping to get that off the books that we possibly could, but there's not a possibility there.
Okay. Questions?
One, on those judgments, is there any kind of, and I forget the specifics on each one or the type that's there, but is there any type of reporting to the credit bureau or anything where there's any kind of a hook for these folks in the future on not having made those payments?
Yeah, so when they go to collections, we have a collection agent who reduces that or that debt to a judgment, and then it's just a 10-year lien process for that. And so I don't know if they report it necessarily with the credit agencies because it's a separate collection agency that the city contracts with.
Well, I understand we can't get it. I wouldn't be opposed to having them tagged so people or other organizations would know that there might be an issue.
Yeah, the city could check with its collection agent on what that process is for reporting the debt.
Okay, that's.
They
I
have
think
a judgment generally on a credit report. It'll show that judgment against you almost forever if it isn't paid. It's usually right on the top of your credit report. You have an unpaid judgment. So they probably are there.
Good.
That's what that is.
That's like,
Need a motion to accept resolution 2517, writing off the uncollectible debts.
So moved.
Thanks, Mike.
Second.
Thanks, Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Kathleen?
Aye.
Adam. Thank you.
Found her.
Resolution 25-18, approving the contract with Blue Bridge Alliance.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Got to see the presentation last week, or correction, last council meeting with Bridge Alliance. Brian Spratlin kind of gave the background of the program, and it's a nonprofit solely supported by donations. It facilitates law enforcement officers to provide, on the spot, immediate assistance to those in urgent need. Program was piloted in Moses Lake, and they've had great success and highly recommend it. It's an opportunity to boost morale within the police department and also form community bonds with donations to community support. So I highly recommend approving the contract, and I think it's going to be a win for the police department and the city. I recommend a motion to adopt resolution 2518 as proposed. Any questions?
So once we sign that contract, our involvement is what?
Our involvement is to start seeking donations, try and get $2,500, which is matched by Blue Bridge Alliance. And then we can get going with the program with the issuing of the cards to the officers and providing that assistance.
Okay.
Is that $2,500 a one-time thing, or is it?
It's one time, right? We'll raise 2,500. Blue Bridge matches it, and that'll be our start money or funding, and then we continue our seek for donations to support the program. And talking with our neighbors with Moses Lake and East Wenatchee, they said that their yearly contributions more than support the program. We can also use it, talking with Brian, various agencies use it to help support, like Shop with a Cop. We had some difficulty trying to fundraise for it with, collecting checks and then having to bring it here. This is a totally separate from city finances. We can seek those donations through, using, credit cards and QR codes and such, which kind of leading up to this, we were looking at a way to do that. And it was very complex, messy, having it intertwined with the city. With this fund separate, it's a lot cleaner and easier to manage.
So the recruitment process, is that going to be like a verbal officers talking about it and then they're going to have a business card with a QR code on it? Is that
We
part?
could put it on the Facebook. I'm assuming for seeking the donations.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, we can put it on our media. They have a website. We can tie it in with our Facebook and see it that way.
All right. So PR is going to be a big part of it.
Mhm.
All right. Oh, and
Part of it is in the reporting as well. Each time it's used, the officer is required to essentially provide a report of how the monies were used. And then that is also can be used, broadcasted and used as publicity for seeking those donations.
so the using of cards and such, that's after the donation. I mean, you have to get a seed,
Correct.
got to build an account to be
Yeah.
able to, okay. All I know is it cost me $20 the other day to the sheriff's department and at lunch on Valentine's Day. Happy wife. Any other questions? Need a motion to accept resolution 2518, the contract with Blue Bridge Alliance.
So moved.
Thanks, Phil.
Second.
Thanks, Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Kathleen?
I
Just once. Thank you.
All right.
Resolution 25-19, awarding the bid for the well 5 debris removal.
Mayor, councilors, good evening again. What's before you is the opportunity to review the quotes that we got to remove the unknown material that we found in the bottom of well 5. Well 5 was drilled on Safe Brush Flats Road in 1953 to a depth of 450 feet. As time goes on or went on, the efficiency of that well dropped off because of the water table dropping. Last year we did a project we were hopefully going to pull the pump and inspect it and lower the pump 100 feet. Once we pulled the pump, it was determined that it was set deeper than was in the record. And then we got down to about 432 feet and there's an obstruction actually in the well. In the video, we couldn't tell what it was. We were afraid to try to go past it because the camera might get stuck. So therefore we had to create this project for a fishing project, basically is what it is, to hopefully remove that material out of the bottom of that well. And then we are in the process of putting on a project to re-drill that well, drill through that existing hole and deepen that well to get back to a normal production for that well. We received 3 quotes on that. The engineer's estimate was $41,300. The low quote we had was $31,500. The way we were going to kind of work that, or we were hoping to work that, is we really don't want to put any more than a week's time into that. If we fish in it any much longer than that, we might as well just start new. We're kind of dumping money down a bad hole. Staff would request that you approve the resolution as presented.
All right. Questions?
So if you re-drill, are you going to do this in the same general location or?
We would have to. We would basically drill on that same piece of property.
Okay.
Ideally, we will drill through the same hole. The pump house is old. We're going to tear the pump house down. There's nothing worth saving. We're removing anything in there that's worth saving, and the rest of it we're going to haul to the landfill. They'll come in and do their fishing project. Hopefully they're in and out. And then we have the drilling project coming right behind it. They'll be able to set up over that casing and increase the depth of that hole.
Is it just debris or do you think it's like an old pump or something in the bottom?
The well drillers that we had look at the pictures before we put the project out, they don't think it's bowls. I mean, that bowls would be a pretty big thing to lose, especially if you pull the pump and you only got half the setback. Probably the best explanation that we got was it might be a screen. There's a screen that goes on the bottom of the bowls that kind of filters out the bigger chunks before it goes up through the pump. That those just thread on and the screen might have come off and it's sitting cocked in the hole. And then the amount of sediment that settles down through the hole is sitting on that screen, which makes it look bigger than it really is.
Oh, gotcha.
We don't know. Hopefully in a few weeks we'll have a better answer.
Oh, maybe we'll have a video. Any other questions? Need a motion to accept resolution 2519, the well number 5 debris removal.
So move.
Thanks, Val. Second?
Second.
All right,
I'll
thanks,
second.
Val. Okay, thanks, Kathleen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Kathleen, you're in favor?
Yes, it says I have bad connection, so I have to dial in. So I'm gonna hang up.
One more.
I think we only have one more item.
Resolution 25-20, approving the emergency repairs for the clarifier.
Again, Mayor, Council, what you have before you is, kind of approving a declaration of emergency that we went through a couple weeks ago, for some repairs out of the wastewater treatment plant on one of our older clarifiers. As part of the 2024 project, we are rebuilding both clarifiers. They completed the repairs, on the one clarifier, and we're getting ready to switch over, and they did a kind of a final inspection on the older one, and it was determined that the sweep that turns around in the middle, needed some repairs, and once it was fully inspected, it was determined that it needs to be replaced. The manufacturer stated that, a normal lifespan for that sweep would be, should be inspected at 10 years and replaced at 20. Ours was put in about 53, and so we got more than well our money's worth out of that, that particular item. The reason we went to an emergency declaration is that there's a lead time on the parts, and we were between council meetings, and we needed to get those parts coming because we need to have the redundancy of the two clarifiers. That it's part of our treatment process. If we have one go down, we need to have the other one so that we can stay within compliance of our permit. Staff would like to recommend that you adopt resolution 25-20 as proposed.
All right. Need a motion to accept resolution 25-20, the repair of the clarifier.
So move.
Thanks, Val. Second.
Second.
Thanks, Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Kathleen, you're there. You can hear. Opposed? So move. Kathleen, you're done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Administration report.
Yeah, just real quick, we don't have a habit of utilizing the consent agenda regularly. Staff is gonna try to use that a little bit more to help expedite some of the things that we seem to speak about repeatedly. So for instance, there's a project that we talked about at retreat. It's on it's in our capital facilities plan or a street plan or a parks plan. It's been part of the budget discussion. It's been passed as part of the budget. And say we take that project out for a bid and it's a regular bid. There's no issues with it. We may try to put some of that stuff up in the consent agenda. You as the council have every right and privilege to request it come off the consent agenda if it's something you'd like to talk about. We're just trying to streamline a little bit. If you have feedback on that, if you guys don't want to do that, that's fine too. If you could just let us know, but
What's the process if there's something that we get on the agenda on, say, a Friday before the meeting, and there is something on that consent agenda that we want to discuss, can we do that just at the meeting, or do we need to notify you ahead of time that we want it to come off? So we just ask for it at the meeting. Okay.
both are acceptable.
Okay.
Yeah. So you know, what you could do is as the mayor steps up and calls the meeting to order, when he would then call for a motion, you ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda. You could just say, Mr. Mayor, point of order, I'd like to ask item will ever be moved down for discussion.
Okay. Perfect.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And again, if there are any irregularities like in that bidding process or whatnot, then we will make sure that it's actually a part of discussion. So.
Most of what you're going to see on that is stuff we've discussed ad nauseum. And it's just kind of a last step to get it out of there, because we're going to do our hearings and all that's first reading, second reading. So we're going to be full of, you guys are going to get hoarse talking about all that. So.
Yeah, just to add, so the council's aware, I'll be out of town until returning to the office March 10th as of tomorrow.
So what do you think of that?
So we're gonna have shorter meetings, is that what you're saying?
You almost didn't have one tonight, so that's, so, you know, you almost, poor Eric would have been here talking and open.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? Great, thank you. Meeting adjourned.